It seems that we're entering a period of coronavirus craziness. Certain regulations and decisions that could be made about international travel are not being made. Information about the origin of the virus in Wuhan is being revealed that makes us question the whole narrative. Let's look at where we are right now with the coronavirus. Is it being handled well by our governments? Can we trust them? And are we being told the truth about how we came to be in this situation? You probably heard by now that a report reveals that some workers in the Wuhan lab potentially went to hospital with a mysterious virus. An article in the Wall Street Journal says that in November 2019, 3 workers from China's Wuhan Institute of Virology became sick enough to seek hospital care, according to a previously undisclosed US intelligence report. David Asher, a former US official, in response to the idea that it could be influenza that had affected these 3 lab workers, said, "I'm very doubtful that 3 people in highly protected circumstances in a level 3 laboratory working on coronaviruses would all get sick with influenza that put them in the hospital or in a severe condition all in the same week, and it didn't have anything to do with the coronavirus." The Wall Street Journal also adds, "The lab hypothesis is being taken more seriously, including by Biden administration officials. The debate is still coloured by political tensions." Isn't it ridiculous that a global pandemic, the complexity and handling of it has caused so much of a division, conflict, contradiction, confusion all around the world, and it's still being politicised? You know, when Trump said it, it's ridiculous. Now Biden saying it, it's being taken more seriously. Shouldn't there be a degree of objectivity around an issue that's this complex and this life-altering that affects every single person in the world one way or another, whether you wholeheartedly believe in the narrative that is, say, the dominant mainstream narrative, or you completely disavow it and have various strong opposing views? There's no escaping it. This is part of our lives. It's affecting all of our lives, all the way that we work, the way we communicate, the way that we interact on a human level, unless you want to sort of step outside of society altogether. This is transcendent of politics. Literally, it's transcendent of humanity. It's a sort of an invisible, interconnecting, problem-causing situation that requires a degree of objectivity. So whether you're in the scientific or political community, there's such a responsibility around it. This is like an issue where people shouldn't be looking to make money, shouldn't be looking to score political points. There should be nothing in our minds except for how do we deal with this situation sensibly and prudently, wisely, as best as possible, objectively. Which is why, with regard to the Indian variant, it's so disappointing that potentially Boris Johnson delayed putting India on the red list because of forthcoming trade talks with India. The chair of a cross-party COVID inquiry group in the UK has said a public inquiry must examine whether Boris Johnson's decision to delay adding India to the travel red list of countries was influenced by his desire to start trade talks with Delhi. It came as Downing Street and the Health Secretary Matt Hancock denied politics was involved in the decision to wait 17 days before putting India on the list of countries requiring mandatory hotel quarantine after Bangladesh and Pakistan were added, despite having significantly lower COVID case rates. Long after it was being referred to colloquially and broadly as the Indian variant, Pakistan and Bangladesh were on the red list while India wasn't. And there were some forthcoming trade talks. Well, forgive my skepticism, but it seems implausible that that's not a factor, particularly knowing what we already know about Health Secretary Matt Hancock's contacts and the way that contracts were awarded to people with no previous experience in generating or manufacturing, PPE, and knowing what we know about Boris Johnson elsewhere. It just seems ridiculous. It's absurd to me that flights were allowed to continue for as long as they were anyway. Isn't it difficult for people that conventionally would say we should have open borders, the world's all one place, freedom of travel, to, in this new context, to observe what are clearly necessary new regulatory requirements? To say, well, while there seems to be a outbreak of coronavirus in India, the first thing we should do, perhaps more important than how masks are regulated in the UK, perhaps more important than how we behave in shops, perhaps more important than parks and gyms and all of those things, all of these regulations that people have been contending with, some gladly and others reluctantly, and some downright outraged by it, wouldn't, if the objective is to prevent the spread of this, the first thing you do, control and quarantine travel between those countries? And if you're not doing that, how can you expect a population to trust you? How can you expect a population to trust you when you have not been transparent about what's happened in Wuhan? How can you expect them to trust you when you make irrational choices around travel between countries where there are outbreaks and countries where the coronavirus is under control? This creates a breeding ground not only for the spread of that virus, but also for different ideas, perspectives, what perhaps would be referred to as conspiracy theories by people that disavow them, that this is being used for political gain, political expedience, pharmaceutical profit. All manner of ideas understandably spring up, some which could be true, some which seem implausible. But the reason that these ideas are promulgated and propagated is because of deception, dishonesty, ineptitude, lack of communication, profiteering, because of what we have been shown by previous government behaviour. Boris Johnson was scheduled to visit India in his first major trip as Prime Minister between the 25th and 28th of April. Downing Street is understood to have been keen to make a political statement that India should be the first nation for Boris Johnson to visit as a way of brokering a new post-Brexit trading relationship. Of course, given the current systems that we live within, about which you may have a great deal of doubt and outright cynicism, trade deals, particularly in a post-Brexit world, are significant. But if indeed the coronavirus is the type of priority that we're led to believe that it is, you shouldn't prioritise trading deals above it. That seems plain to anybody. The Liberal Democrat MP Layla Moran, who chairs the all-party parliamentary group on coronavirus, which is conducting a cross-party inquiry into the pandemic, said the delay adding India to the red list allowed thousands of people to enter the UK without going into hotel quarantine, meaning a crucial opportunity to stop the Indian variant was missed. And of course, if you look at what's happening in India, it's quite likely, possible, I would say, that people were leaving India to be with family members in a much safer country, and who can blame them for that? However, it seems ridiculous to try to control the Indian variant in particular pockets of the UK and not control the access of people potentially affected from India to the UK itself. How are people expected to observe that kind of regulation when there isn't a policy that supports the kind of necessary sacrifice that's taking place on an everyday level in everybody's lives? By April the 9th, coronavirus cases in India were 4 times higher than Pakistan, but Johnson's Delhi trip remained scheduled and India remained on the amber list, with home quarantine allowed for travellers. So they were quarantining, but quarantining at home. It seems like that was perhaps a political decision, and I guess I should be careful with regard to conjecture and speculation, but given what we know about Boris Johnson in other areas, the kind of deals that have been made, all of the various controversies that have already been strewn throughout his tenure, is it possible that there was some kind of, listen, we'll keep you on the old amber list till we sort out this trade situation? I'm not suggesting that they speak like that. I'm just saying that they have intentions like that and perhaps communicate in that manner, in that style, with that kind of agenda. Whatever your opinion is about coronavirus and the pandemic, I bet we're all in unison in agreeing that this is a unique situation, and one that, like no other situation before it, requires transparency from people in power, excellence and clarity, and a total lack of ineptitude in their decision making wherever possible. So to discover that information is being repressed about Wuhan and the origins of the virus, while simultaneously seeing governments make decisions that don't make sense about controlling outbreaks and the potential spread in new territories where the virus is under control, like the UK, that fosters an environment of uncertainty, skepticism, and allows speculation and conjecture, actually encourages it. I suppose it's the ideological equivalent of not washing your hands, not wearing gloves, going wherever the hell you like and doing whatever you want. I feel that people in positions of authority and leadership should be exemplary in their conduct, in their decision making, looking for ways to end polarity and division through clarity and transparency. What kind of leadership are we being offered? What kind of decision making is being demonstrated to us? What do these revelations and the likely repression that meant that we're only learning about them now indicate? That this is an environment where we cannot trust our leaders and where we can't be certain that the guidance and information we're giving is correct. This is a time where we need to end polarization, find some union, togetherness, trust, so that we can look at these issues together with a degree of clarity and, where possible, objectivity. So what you need to know is that people in power are making sensible decisions, and who among us, no matter where you fall on the broad spectrum of perspectives on the coronavirus issue, is satisfied with the way that this is being handled at a government level? If you like that video, like that video with a little old thumbs up, post it around to your pals, why don't you? Subscribe to my channel, it helps us if you do that. And also sign up to my russellbrand.com mailing list to learn about live shows, events and different things that I'm doing. Hope you enjoyed it. Comment below. I read the comments, and if you want us to cover other stuff, if there's things that you're interested in, let us know. We'll get back to you with some content on those subjects. Thank you.